They told us intimacy fades with age. But what if I told you the truth after 70 will shock you? Because for many couples, it doesn't disappear, it transforms. And in ways most people never expect. Most people grow up hearing the same story. Intimacy belongs only to the young. Magazines, movies, and even casual conversations paint a picture where passion has an expiration date. And that date usually feels like it comes long before 70. But when I started listening to real couples past that age, I realized something powerful. Intimacy doesn't die. It simply evolves. Think about it. At 25, intimacy might be fiery, impulsive, and physical. At 70, it often becomes slower, deeper, and more meaningful. Many couples describe it as less about performance and more about connection. They don't feel the same pressure to impress. Instead, they focus on feeling close, being present, and truly enjoying one another. What's even more surprising, some people actually report greater satisfaction later in life than they ever did in their 30s or 40s. Why? Because the competition, insecurity, and stress of earlier years often fade. After decades together, partners know each other's rhythms, needs, and vulnerabilities. That kind of safety creates freedom. The freedom to experiment, to laugh during awkward moments, and to build intimacy without fear of judgment. Of course, aging brings challenges. Bodies change, energy levels shift. But intimacy after 70 doesn't ignore these realities. It works with them. Couples adapt in creative ways. Maybe they explore new forms of touch. Maybe they focus on emotional closeness, like talking late into the night or holding hands on long walks. Some discover that a simple hug carries more passion than a dozen rushed moments from their youth. And here's the real shocker. Science backs this up. Research shows that couples who stay physically and emotionally connected after 70 enjoy stronger immune systems, better heart health, and even sharper memory. Intimacy becomes less about age and more about quality. So the myth that passion dies with age, it's not just wrong, it robs people of hope. Because the truth is, love and intimacy don't expire, they evolve into something richer. When couples talk about intimacy after 70, they almost always mention one word first: emotional connection. In earlier years, intimacy can be tangled with ego, performance, or even proving something. Am I attractive enough? Am I satisfying enough? But later in life, those questions soften. The focus shifts from proving to experiencing. Take Margaret and John, a couple married for 48 years. When I asked them about their intimacy, John laughed and said, "At 30, I thought intimacy was about impressing her. At 70, it's about making her feel safe." Margaret nodded and added, "It's about feeling seen. That matters more than anything else now." This emotional intimacy creates a new kind of spark. It might not look like the fiery passion of young love, but it burns steadier, like a candle that lights up an entire room rather than a flame that burns out fast. What makes this shift so powerful is that emotional closeness doesn't fade with physical changes. Wrinkles, health conditions, or slower bodies can't erase the need to feel loved, valued, and desired. In fact, those needs often grow stronger with age. And here's something most people don't realize. Loneliness is one of the biggest threats to health in older adults. Studies show it can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's why intimacy, whether physical or emotional, becomes a lifeline. It's not just about romance. It's about survival. So when people say, "Why bother with intimacy after 70?" the answer is clear: because it nourishes the soul. Because a hug can fight off despair. Because laughter in bed can lower stress better than any pill. Let me ask you this. When you imagine your 70s, would you rather feel isolated and forgotten, or deeply connected to someone who knows every part of you? That's the choice intimacy provides. And the truth is, many couples are quietly choosing connection, rewriting what intimacy looks like in their later years. They may not talk about it openly, but behind closed doors, they're living proof that love doesn't fade. Let's face it, society has painted a picture that intimacy belongs only to the young. Movies, ads, and magazines show romance ending by middle age. But here's the shocking truth. Intimacy at 70, 80, and beyond is alive, real, and sometimes even stronger. The myth says desire disappears with age. Reality? Desire doesn't vanish. It changes. It may look different, slower, softer, more tender, but the hunger to feel close never leaves. Another myth says older couples are done with romance, but surveys prove otherwise. A national study revealed that nearly half of people in their 70s remain sexually active, and many report being more satisfied than in their 40s. Why? Because they no longer feel pressured to perform or compare. They focus on connection, not perfection. Think about it this way. When you're young, intimacy can feel rushed. It's about proving something, chasing something, or fearing rejection. But later, it becomes about presence, slowness, enjoyment, a long touch, a deep laugh, or even lying in silence together can mean more than any grand gesture. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Breaking these myths doesn't just matter for couples. It matters for families too. When children or grandchildren see their elders still affectionate, it changes how they view love. It proves that intimacy isn't tied to youth. It's tied to commitment and care. One woman told me her grandmother always held her grandfather's hand in public, even in her late 80s. When asked why, she smiled and said, "If I let go, he might drift away." That simple act was intimacy, living proof that love after 70 can still inspire generations. But myths can be dangerous. Many older adults hold back because they think, "I'm too old for this." That belief kills connection before age does. So here's my question for you. What belief are you holding about love and age? Do you think passion expires, or do you believe it transforms? Because the answer will shape how you live not just your 70s, but every decade before them. We've talked about myths, we've talked about transformations, but now it's time to uncover the hidden power of intimacy after 70. And trust me, this is the part people rarely discuss. See, intimacy at this age isn't just about pleasure. It's about health and longevity. Studies show that older adults who remain physically and emotionally intimate experience lower stress, stronger immune systems, and even reduced risk of heart problems. Think about that. Love itself becomes medicine, and it's not only physical health. Emotional well-being skyrockets too. Intimacy gives a sense of purpose. It fights loneliness, which is one of the biggest threats in later years. Couples who stay affectionate report higher levels of happiness, optimism, and resilience. Even after facing loss, illness, or financial stress, their connection acts like an anchor. But here's the twist. Intimacy after 70 isn't limited to couples who have been married for decades. Some people find love later in life, in their 60s, 70s, or even 80s, and they thrive. Because when you remove the pressure of society's timeline, you're left with something pure. Two people choosing closeness, without fear of judgment. Now, as I promised, here's the most important truth. The real secret to intimacy after 70 is not about the body, it's about the mindset. If you carry shame, fear, or limiting beliefs, age will feel like a wall. But if you carry openness, humor, and gratitude, age becomes irrelevant. Desire lives in the mind long before it reaches the body. So let me leave you with this. Love doesn't retire. Touch doesn't expire. Intimacy doesn't have an age limit. If anything, the later years strip away the noise and reveal what truly matters. Connection, presence, a hand that still reaches for yours in the dark. Now I want to ask you, when you imagine yourself at 70 or 80, do you see a lonely room, or do you see someone smiling back at you, still holding on? The choice of that future begins with how you love today. Because the shocking truth is simple. Intimacy after 70 isn't fading away. It's waiting for those bold enough to embrace it.